I don't know if you were paying attention in the chat when Sheldon and I were talking about doing shorts and stuff,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and taking the stuff that I normally put at the beginning of the podcast, which is this, and then stuff at the end of the podcast, and making that into shorts, and that's a good idea. So maybe you'll see some of that, or maybe you're watching it on a short now. Anywho. Welcome to the Game Corner, another video game podcast. My name is Harrison. You might know me online as Ixen, and I am joined by my friend
Rowan, you might know me as Mocha on Discord. I think last week I said I was getting ready to give people some iron hands in Orlando. I am actually just panicking.
Oh, I thought
day.
I thought you were about to say that you were off the Iron Hands train, and I'm like, well,
no. I'm trying to make it. I mean, make it work. It's really good. I don't know, man. I'm usually the person who has like a team ready like weeks in advance, whether it does well or not. But we're like barely a week out, and I'm losing it. I have no idea what I'm gonna run.
No, don't say that. We are a week and a half out.
Oh, okay.
Give us the reality of this, right? So we're recording this pretty late, actually, for normal recording. But yeah, it's Wednesday, my dudes, and it is a week and a half until Orlando, and I'm with you. I am entirely panicking. I have no idea. Like I'm testing on Showdown a little bit. I have USPA matches that I also have to practice for, which are Series 2, which is nice for this week forward, which is great.
Yeah.
But
I played one match in USPA and I won, but it was Series 1. So
sure.
It's actually I'm so upset about it because I like finally started to get the hang of Series 1 after San Diego, because I got to see all the archetypes that did well there and like say like I like this one and this is how these work, and they click with me, and I got to like really high on the ladder with Palafin in
Yep.
Series 1. Turns out Palafin has I mean, it's still good, but it has a way harder time in 2. These Paradox Mons give it some trouble. Like Iron Hands somehow doesn't die to a wave crash in rain if you're only running Mystic Water, and like
oh wow,
Freeze Dry is really painful also.
freeze dry is painful. The Iron Bundle sucks.
Yeah. Completely ruins it. Yeah.
That's why I'm testing rain right now, doing not nearly enough, honestly, to say like, oh, I'm seeing results one way or the other. But yeah, that's a little ahead of ourselves. But
Yeah,
I agree that after San Diego, Series 1 got good because
Yeah.
we saw results.
I'm gonna bring it back. Like I really thought Series 12 was great, and it wasn't even necessarily that Series 12 itself was great. It was that we played it for 6 months. No, not more than 6 months, like 8 months, right? Like
Yeah.
it was the longest running format anyone who started in Sword and Shield
Yeah.
has played, and now we're going even more turbo than that. Like
2 months is short.
2 months is really short, and if we're being honest with ourselves, it was basically 1 month because most of us were just figuring out what the new Pokemon's names were, like for the first few weeks, and playing through the actual game. Like I don't think I was actually seriously playing Series 1 until like a couple weeks into December.
Oh, sure, right. So, when did I beat the game? I think I beat the game early December, but I didn't really touch ladder, excuse me, until sometime in mid-December-ish or whatever. But we didn't see events, right? San Diego was the big event, the only like official.
No,
Well,
I mean there
no.
were more. It was the only event in North America.
North America, yes, because
yeah.
obviously we had Liverpool last week, and we're talking about today, and it's right in front of me, and I forgot.
Yeah, I want to say there's one more. It's just me being a dirty American who doesn't know anything outside of our country, but like
There's also
I feel like there was another major like regional in Series 1 somewhere.
probably I had the page up earlier.
I don't see it on
Oh,
on
it's right
BBC
here.
pastes, but
San Diego. Obviously, VG was no. We are entirely wrong. It was Liverpool and San Diego. That was it.
that's it. Okay.
Yep.
Neat.
Because everything else
well,
was
not neat is the thing. Like that.
Yes.
Neat
that you were right.
Series 1 is really cool. Like I now that we've had like more than a month to play with it, I was really starting to enjoy all the interactions and like figure out what beats what. And like it's not like Rain was perfect either. I obviously had losing matchups because everything does. I was just getting comfortable with something, and now they just yank the rug out under you. And like, no excuse for how I personally did at San Diego. Like, obviously, good players can figure out how to do this stuff, but I am not good enough to like just instantly adapt to something brand new like some of these people can. And I needed a little more time. And now Orlando is going to be exactly the same thing. It's like
brand new.
I really hope that whatever you brought like happens to be good, because like there's no way for you to really know. And it's even worse than Series 1 because like we don't even get real data. I think the most we get are like the open sheets from like Nino tours.
So that's what I was going to say. Like, the other thing that we had going for us in Series 1 was a lot of the grassroots stuff that was coming out. A lot of these, you know, Nino Pokebros doing his thing, or other
Beanie has
people.
a couple as well, yeah.
Beanie, Little Root Lessons had theirs. I don't think we got stats from the first couple of weeks of USPA, but still, like, those things have helped move the metagame along and helped establish what it was. However, we are 2 weeks out. People really started to make the shift to Series 2 like maybe a week ago, right? So maybe 3 weeks before, only grassroots.
Yeah.
Liverpool this past weekend was the last like a big official Series 1 thing. Now no one cares about Series 1. Just because that's what it is.
It's what's on the ladder still. Is the thing, right? Like
that sucks.
it does indeed suck. You're right.
It's the only thing on the ladder. We can't go to Series 2.
Yeah,
Thank
which
you,
means
Showdown.
that even like a bunch of like major content creators, like I know Cybertron is still only putting out Series 1 content because he plays what's on the ladder.
Yeah,
It's just wild that we're going to be doing this up until February 1st, and then 3 days afterwards we're going to be playing the biggest Pokemon tournament ever.
Yep.
Ever.
Yep.
We're going to hit 800 people in VGC Masters.
Are we hitting 800?
I think it's like 750, and they're trying to open it up for more. They just have to get more docs.
RK9. Yes, because they said Friday, so tomorrow, if you're listening,
They're gonna
to this
find
when it comes out, they'll announce something one way or the other.
Okay.
Was their wording?
But sorry, if it's 750 people, that's still utterly massive.
So as of recording, 746.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, 750
That's
still, but like that is a massive number. How many was San Diego? 590.
600. At least 600 signed up. I don't know.
Yeah, sorry. I think 590 showed up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So like
kind of crazy. People are just throwing away $70 to not show up.
That's also true. Do you get refunds, or how does that work?
You can, but you lose like almost half of it to like processing fees or whatever. So yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Anyway, yeah. No, this is enough of my like complaining about it. I guess it's a lot. It's kind of crazy. Like,
it's worth complaining about because I was gonna say it sucks. It's interesting that they're making the shift so fast.
It would be great from a spectator perspective if I hadn't already paid for the ticket and the travel, and like I still want to go is the thing. Like, I've had a lot of like personal life stuff happening recently, so I haven't really put in the effort either, to be perfectly honest. So like, this Orlando trip is going to be purely to see so many friends. Like, it's going to be a great time to see. Yeah. That guy. But yeah, we're just going to see a lot of people, have a good time, and play some Pokemon. Like, whether I win or lose, it'll be good. But if I was taking it really, really seriously, I think I'd be a little more upset. Like,
so I have a question. So I've had over the last couple of days, the few times I've tweeted, I've expressed my intense panic for Orlando. But the intrusive thought that comes alongside that is, because of the nature of the shifting series, we have not a lot of practice with Series 2 in any official format, and then this is going to be a massive, massive tournament where we're going to see how things, perform early in Series 2, like, again, what cores come out on top, how people are playing, yada, yada, yada. I'm having the thought that Orlando, as exciting as it is, and I'm with you, I'm super excited to see people, like that is the most exciting thing for me, is see all these friends, but Orlando is prep for Knoxville.
It's a testing ground. I 100% agree, and I am going to Knoxville too, so I intend to put much more effort into Knoxville, just because, like, I don't know, I'm a preparation person. Like, maybe that just means that I don't have like the natural talent to just like analyze a situation and immediately do it, like some people can.
This is a prepping game, though.
It is. I mean, at least at the highest level, I tend to agree. Like,
Sure.
But yeah, I don't know if you read like the team report that that Jisok Lee did, Miluka. It was like the insights they had were absolutely crazy. It was like the whole poison Garganackle thing, which is now just completely like taken over the meta. That was a huge call because what they realized was that there were no ground types in Series 1 that aren't named Garchomp, and Garchomp fell off hard.
It did, yes.
Yeah, nobody was seriously using Garchomp at that point, and like their team had counters for it. So like Poison Garg was such an amazingly like brilliant, but like kind of simple. Also, it only has 2 weaknesses. Like, why did no one else think of this? And yes, it's weak to Psychic, but the only Psychic move that people use is Expanding Force, and you have White Guard. So the end.
True.
Like, kind of crazy. Nobody thought of that, and like he like had all of these insights in this team report, and just you need all these like really brilliant adaptations just become standard and normal, and like Poison Garg is just everywhere on the ladder right now. It's either Poison or Ghost, and still most people are just doing Miluka's set. But like in Series 12, all of these like really cool synergies were just everybody knew about them. Like it was just who could use them best. But in these kinds of like Wild West, no one knows the meta regionals. It's very much who discovered the best thing early.
Yep.
And has been keeping it to their chest. I'm in some discords with some like pretty good players, and they have very different opinions than me about open team sheets. Like I'm obviously very pro open team sheet, and their thoughts are like, no, I literally won't play ladder if I'm forced to do open team sheet, so that no one else can get my sauce before the tournament.
Hold their attack
like,
close to the chest.
I kind of respect it, and I kind of I don't love that maybe it's just like my thought is that the person who can like play the game better wins, but this is really making team building a much bigger part of the equation, which isn't bad necessarily. It's just very different than what we're used to.
It's a different take, and I it's interesting to me because sure, if you are at that high level, you probably have people know your showdown tag, right? Like they can find you, they can watch your games if you upload them, yada yada yada, all that stuff. Sure. If you are truly like hiding some cool tech, sure, that's kind of neat, I guess. But like,
it's cool, but it also kind of like I don't know. It's weird for me to say this. I don't want to like take any shots at the people who are doing this, because you do what you have to win, right? But it feels like that kind of secrecy like holds back the meta. Like it makes it so that we don't find what works and develop on top of it faster. And
then come these these regionals, these big events, then boom, it's exposed. Yeah. Everyone gets to see it. It wins. It does well. Whatever. And then
and then no boom, one gets to use it because the format changed.
Well, when it comes to things like Liverpool,
I'm really looking forward to Knoxville, because how much do you want to bet that we're gonna get Series 3 with the Rowan Pokemon in a couple months, and then like everything will be turned on its head again? Because I'll be honest, those are only 4 Pokemon, and Chi-Yu and Chen Pao alone are going to completely change everything. I was playing on ladder with like
early ladder,
early Scarlet and Violet, when we didn't think anything besides the restricteds were going to be banned, and oh my god, it was just you run Choice Band Dragonite, Chen Pao, Chi-Yu, and Scarf Chi-Yu and Specs Fluttermane, I think, and then just like nuke. Press buttons and things die. The other 2 slots on your team were whatever you feel like. I think I was running Sandy Shocks, like just for funsies. Like it didn't matter. Like things just evaporated, and people will find counters to this stuff like when it comes out for sure. Like they already were kind of at the beginning, but like those things are going to massively change the metagame as well, and we're probably just going to be launched directly into it.
It's gonna be interesting. Do we think that's Series 3? We're way off topic, but that's fine.
Yeah, who cares? Yeah, see, I thought they were going to be super like conservative with it, because what they need to do is they need to stall until they have DLC ready, right?
So
I thought they'd be like one format where you get Charizard, enjoy your Charizard. One format where you get Cinderace, enjoy your Cinderace. And like, no, screw it. Like, just like everything that's in the base game, like we're like pushing this out now.
This weekend is Greninja, right?
Yeah, but it's still not legal. I don't think I don't think Charizard or Cinderace or even the regionals are legal yet.
Nope. They're not. So that's a good point. I forgot about them. Do you think those will be released before the Ruinous?
Well, I mean, at this point, Home should be coming out pretty soon, right?
That's
Like
true.
they said early 2023, spring,
February, March.
February, March. Right? Yeah. So
I mean, Pokemon Day is coming up, right?
Yeah.
Like right before Knoxville, I think.
at this point, we'll get Home before we get.
Right after Knoxville. is
Yeah,
Pokemon
we'll get
Day.
Home before we get Series 3 anyway. Then most
Yes,
likely,
probably.
I would
'Cause-
guess they give those Pokemon to us when they give us Home. But I don't know.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's a good point. I don't know. Either way, I'm still like, if you take Paradox, Home, Ruinous, GS Cup, right? That's four.
And you can't. I don't think you can do GS until we get DLC. You can't have two restricteds in a restricted format.
So yes, given what we have pre DLC, those are the 4 additions to regional decks that they can possibly
Now,
make.
with that said, actually, I don't think it matters. We can talk about data mines now, right? That's all over. Like nobody cares.
I actually don't know what you're referring to, but sure, why not?
So they
FYI, data mines.
Yeah, sure. If you don't want to hear about
Content
things,
warning.
if you
data
don't want to hear
mines.
things that are already coded into the game but aren't available, buy.
Come back in a few minutes.
Yeah. No, please don't go forever.
Don't leave forever. Come back. We love you.
But so what they found is that there's a lot might be a strong word, but there are at least several Pokemon that are already coded into the game that are completely unobtainable. Zacian among them, which is how we found out that Behemoth Blade is
right.
how we figured out Intrepid Sword had been nerfed.
Right.
People
yes.
have like hacked in Zacian and shown like the Behemoth Blade animation is not nearly as cool now. It's a little sad.
Boo.
Yeah. But anyway, like that's in. I think Kyogre's in there too. Like there's a handful of restricteds that are already in the game's code, which means that when Home drops, it would not be crazy for them to just be like, you can transfer these into. I don't know
but use them is another question.
Use them is another question. Do
Okay.
you want to do that?
Sure.
I have only been around for Sword and Shield competitively, so I don't know. Like, we didn't get restricteds until we got the second DLC, and like 6 months or so into the second DLC at that, right? Or
something like that. It was
because we
while.
had a format of Crown Tundra without restricteds before we got them.
Correct.
So, but I've heard in like previous generations when it was a less COVID-y time, they had like an entire world season without restricteds, and like then they'd go into the next world season and they'd eventually get GS Cup.
Sure.
Patterns are completely useless at this point. No one really knows how they're going to do it. Like they're just doing whatever they feel like, and it isn't a pattern until it is. So who knows what they'll do? But I think
what
all
a
that's
statement that
possible.
was. What an abuse of English. Anyway,
This is rum and coke. It's been a rough week, man.
mead as normal. Yeah.
More rum than coke.
Fair. You deserve that. Anywho, that all aside, the other fun thing about DLC, since we're just completely off topic, is apparently Riddler Coup, right? Tweeted something the other day of like, DLC looks dope, excited to see the community's response. Something along those lines.
Cool.
Which is, again, that's means nothing, right? But
And I'm not. I don't know. Like a lot of the leaker culture gets really weird.
absolutely.
And
But if it's anything, right? Like after the response of the base game,
if it's real, then I am happy to see that it's actually like it
Yes.
better be actively in development, right? Or it's not going to be here in any reasonable amount of time. But
I imagine like they're going to tease. My theory is they're going to tease something for Pokemon
on
Day.
Pokemon Day, I could see that. Yeah, absolutely. This is like their biggest launch ever, and Sword and Shield was already massive. So,
Like this game.
You obviously want to keep that momentum going.
Absolutely. So we'll see.
Yeah. Anyway, do you want to dive into what we were actually going to talk about initially?
Yeah, so we kind of hinted at it earlier in the episode. Series 1 is dead. RIP. Long may it rest. And remember it in our hearts. But Liverpool was this past weekend. We got to see kind of the last big events of Series 1. We got to see how different Pokemon and cores performed in that tournament. So we were thinking we'll go through kind of some of the top level things from the tournament, talk about how Series 1 went in correlation with that, and then theorize how it'll stand or not in Series 2.
Yeah. So yeah, it's very, and I think Liverpool was really cool because it showed some pretty big advancements over what we saw in San Diego. Granted, I'm pretty sure it was a smaller tournament, but it was still but it was still some really big names. I recognize a lot of the people in the top 16 at least. But yeah, it was very interesting to see. Like it has changed significantly from San Diego since then, which I kind of expected people were just gonna kind of run what worked since the format was dying anyway. But that is not the case. Like,
there was some evolution here.
Yeah. Do you want to like just choose our favorites? Kind of go off and.
I think we're both very excited to see what took the number 1 spot. That team.
Yeah, Dondozo won. Not just
Dondozo.
Dondozo, Dragonite.
Yes.
Pretty good.
Yes.
I'm gonna say, I'm a big fan of that team. It's I guess it's a better version of whatever I ran.
I say that's a very you team.
I mean,
and I like it too.
it's 50% the same as mine. Yeah.
Were you not running Murkrow?
I was not running Murkrow, and that was probably one of my big downfalls actually. Is I was running hyper offense without speed control effectively, like just a lot of priority and a lot of bulk. Yeah, in retrospect, like it was just a team that I'd gotten really comfortable with, and so Rowan, I had good results, but it wasn't actually good.
Good friend of mine, Rowan. When are we gonna sit down and team build for Orlando? It's in a week and a half.
You want to after this?
No, I have to edit this podcast and put it out.
All right.
I have other jobs. What are you doing tomorrow night?
I am going to the closing party of my favorite cocktail bar.
Fair enough. Also important.
Dead. Rip. 2023 is awful.
So many things are dying so early in this year. Okay. We'll figure it out. But we need to do that soon. This is a good time to plug the practice corner, which is probably what Sheldon and I will be doing tomorrow night. And maybe, no, not Friday night. Tomorrow night for sure. We'll have that in Discord. So link down below. Join that. We'll just kind of be in voice chat, talking about stuff, doing some best of 3 practices, and kind of going off of just some practice for Orlando and whatnot. That being said, Liverpool.
Yeah. So back to the Dondozo. Like it's actually a pretty normal Dondozo team. Like for the most part, like Palmot has like popped off. Obviously, Chupa at San Diego did really well with Palmot, and like that revival blessing versus fake out mind game is massive. Like they send out that Palmot after you get a KO, and you're like, are they gonna fake me out and like smack me with their Sidemon, or are they just gonna click revival blessing and undo half the work I just did, right? And obviously it's even better with Dondozo, where you can bring back part of that pair where they do so much work to get rid of your Dozo, and you just resurrect it, and then it has like rest or leftovers or something, right? It was interesting that this was just the standard lefties Dondozo, whereas Chupa's was kind of like really solidifying that rest Chesto Berry is really good. And then on top of that, I really like their Tatsugiri is standard choice scarf set.
Or Droopy. The attack one, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the standard one.
Sure.
I really like that they put Sleep Talk on it. It's super cool. So this is something I do against Dondozo players all the time, is that if you can like cripple Dozo, like you haze it, you sleep it, whatever, right? And then you have Amoonguss on the field, you use your first Mon to kill Dozo, and then that same turn where Tatsu can't do anything, you spore it, and you usually like try to space out your damage just right. You like really pray that you don't get a crit that you didn't want, so that you kill it on that turn and the spore goes into Tatsu before it can do anything, and then they're like really playing behind. Because Tatsu doesn't even get to burn that sleep turn, right? It's
right.
So they put Sleep Talk on there expecting that situation, and now all of a sudden like Tatsu can do stuff.
But it's interesting because you have
random,
choice scarf, Sleep Talk.
Yeah, so whatever you choose,
so you sleep fast.
Oh, that's actually true, is that you're stuck sleep talking even once you wake up.
Yeah. So you have 1 to 3 turns of Tatsu doing something before you have to switch it out.
Now, to be fair, when you put Tatsu to sleep, it's usually not long for this world.
It is a weak boy.
Yeah.
He's a frail friend. So that makes sense. So maybe you do only have a turn, right? So you can do something real fast at random, like you said.
Yeah. And so when I say I really like it, I don't think I'd run it myself, but it's cool. I'd love to see it. I would like Liverpool's time zone was too off for me to watch these live, but I do need to watch the VODs. Like
I do want to go back.
That sounds really hype.
The other thing too, though, is open team sheets kind of messes this up. This is a tech you'd want to keep off of OTS.
Yeah, it kind of means that no one's gonna go for that spore timing. But I don't know. I mean, if Amoonguss is part of your anti-dozo strategy, I think I'd still do it. Like, what else are you doing with the Amoonguss, right? Like,
so there's that, but also it's a toss-up, right? Are you gonna spore it or are you gonna sleep talk it? Like you and your opponent kind of have to figure out. Sorry, you know what I meant. That didn't make sense.
I don't know.
Are you gonna spore it or do something else? Because now you don't know your opponent. Oh my gosh.
What else is Amoonguss gonna do? Like at best, it's gonna like pollen puff its partner, I guess. But like
sure, right? And I guess it's a good point. You're saying the Amoonguss that it can't do much against Tatsu, but you can do something else to Tatsu, spore whatever else comes out, and then you're just left with leaving the Tatsu do whatever.
You can spore both of them. Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't
There's
think
options.
I don't think open team sheet necessarily messes it up. Just dice rolls mess it up. It's like
True.
Like they're gonna put you to sleep if they have the opportunity to, because they get to click sleep talk. But like you said, they're locked into choice scarf sleep talk, which sucks, and they're getting a random move, which also sucks.
Yep. Yeah, that is the better option for you.
So like you still spore it, but like it's more just does luck favor you that day, and I guess it did or it didn't come up. I don't know, but it's cute anyway. I'm seeing like otherwise it's very much like AV Dragonite is also interesting too. With the flying Terra Blast is also really cool. It's like he has extreme speed because extreme speed is a good move regardless on something as strong as Dragonite, but like not going all in on the Terra normal choice band or life orb murder things. More just this is a bulky monster that hits stuff, and having that like stab flying coverage with Terra Blast, because Dragonite gets nothing for flying coverage this gen on the physical side. Like it used to have dual wing beat and they took that away in Gen 9. So but it's still a base 134 attack. It's still, and once you get like that Terra Blast with double stab, that's something, adaptability boost. Yeah.
Yep.
So like there's not a lot of amazing flying coverage. The flying coverage in the game is like kind of, at least in series 1, is kind of relegated to like really frail attackers. Like you're looking at like Talonflame and Kilowattrel off the top of my head. At least I can't think of any other like really big powerful flying attackers in series 1.
We can talk about Salamence here in a moment, because that did some cool stuff at some point.
Did it in San Diego too.
Yeah,
but
that's
anyway, so how do we think Dozo does in series 2?
Dozo in series 2. People are going to have answers to it. I think that's going to be the norm. I think the way that series 1 pushed people to have haze or what's the poison one?
Do you think that like carries over to series 2? Like,
so
I've played a lot of teams on ladder and I've like talked to a lot of people about their pastes, and their answers about like how do I beat Dozo is like, kind of hope I don't play it, or like
really
these things hit it really hard. Like Garganicle is pretty solid if you get the right Terra type and can just salt cure it. But I've seen people aren't like as hard countering it. Like I ran into like when I played Rog, I had Curse on Mimikyu just to handle Dozo, which is awful. That day I found out that Curse is sound based and goes through a substitute. Anyway, like I guess if anything, I feel like a lot of the Dozo counters are like transforming into Garganical counters. Like that same Curse tech also works on Garg.
Oh, good point. And that's not a damaging move, so Purifying Salt doesn't matter.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. I mean, there are some things that hit a little harder
than Dozo,
or than series 1. Right. And in series 2, so like maybe that just evens it out.
Like I think Dozo is going to be a sleeper in series 2. Personally, this is a hot take, and you can tell me I'm all
so you're bringing it to Orlando.
I'm not, because I learned that I'm bad with Dozo, but I think it is a sleeper, and the reason is that people were just so over prepared for it at San Diego
Sure.
and at Series 1 in general. And I think people are like more focused on the new threats in Series 2, and they're not gonna like every team is not gonna have an explicit haze user or curse user or toxic spikes user or whatever, right? Like all of this tech specifically for this one mon. So I like that made like I didn't bring it to like like the majority of my matches at San Diego. 'Cause
Right.
I took one look at the team sheet and like I know what you're bringing, and this is going to be sad for me. So I'm going to try to like bring the thing that counters your counter, and that's helpful. But
Sure.
in general, like I only got to like really use Dozo properly in a couple of matches.
I see.
I think that's going to be less of the case in Series 2, and I think people are overestimating just how powerful the like these paradox mons are, because they are like people compare them to Ultra Beasts. That's really true, in that their stats are distributed like aggressively, like
Yeah.
not balanced in any way. So like yes, Fluttermane is really strong, and yes, it hits it on the special side, but Dozo still has +2, even if it takes like 50% from a Terra Fairy Moonblast, which it doesn't, by the way. Like okay, and then it just kills you. It just kills the Fluttermane. That's it.
True. It is very frail mon, and again, you're right. Dozo can take that out pretty easily. I'll agree with you. I'll agree that Dozo will sleep for Orlando, and come back with a vengeance for
Oh,
Knoxville.
okay. That's a good bet. I like that.
I think that fits with what you're thinking. That's not.
I think it's going to come out in Orlando. Honestly,
You think it will?
I think a couple people are going to do really well with it. I don't think it's going to like dominate the meta or anything. Because if it did, then
I can
people
see
would
that.
be aware of that, right?
That's
And they'd start running the counters.
That's
I think there's a couple people are
point.
going to have the sauce, and they're going to like
people
gonna
who
cut with
are
Dozo.
people who feel very comfortable with their catfish will
Yeah.
definitely.
Because I think it's more Colossal than Colossal was. I think it's harder
Sure.
to play well than Colossal was.
Yes, I agree with that as well.
There like no one was running haze in against Colossal, so like you like generally got your steam engine boost. Like maybe people beat you anyway, but
My stance, I still think it's impressive how much of that, again, like stat boost countering came out of Series
it
1
got
because of Don
massive.
Dozo.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm still running haze on my Palafin. Like
Yes, I have it on mine too, right? Like I just in case I see a need for it. Now I also like the tech that goes along with that, with Murkrow and Goldango,
yeah,
and that
that's
type
cute
of
too.
stuff, right? So because guess what, we're gonna have Great Tusk with Headlong Rush
Yeah.
or
So
anything
that's
with close combat, right?
if
Same
we're-
thing.
if we're talking about stuff that like mons that are going to have a harder time in Series 2, and first off, I think Goldango is still going to be amazing.
Yes.
Like, don't get me wrong. I think it's been in the top cut of every Series 2 grassroots tournament so far, and like
We're not-
dominatingly so.
We're not gonna see Goldango go away for
Yeah.
a good while. It is good as
with that
gold.
said, yeah, but a lot of the Paradox mons absolutely ruin it. Like, of course, like Fluttermane might be fairy, but it's fast and it has a ghost move. But more than that, Max Jolly, Great Tusks you were just talking about outspeeds it by I think 1 or something, or like very close to 1.
Yep.
So like, and Headlong Rush just murders it, and they all Terra Steel. So you're not terroring out of that.
Well, but things are starting to not Terra Steel, right? So
They
this is-
were, and then they went back. We were seeing innovation. We were seeing like Terra Flying Goldango, which was really cute. Like you put it next to Garchomp, and like you get your
Sure.
EQ plus Make It Rain. And then San Diego happened, and 3 of the 4 of the top 4 players all had Terra Steel, Max Timid, Goldango,
Oh, fair enough.
and now we see nothing but.
I'm curious to see though, right? Because Goldango is a Pokemon that benefits from having a, niche Terra type and Terra Blast, right? Like it can do work with that.
Yeah,
depending.
you can toss it.
Now, is a niche Terra type and all that consistent to get top performance
'Cause-
out of thing? I don't know.
What really struck me watching like the San Diego finals matches, as like a lot of the matches were like brilliant, and they all had like moments where like, wow, these people are really good, because obviously they are. But
Right.
there were also openers where I was like, I wonder what they're gonna do, and it's like, I'm going to Terra Steel and click Make It Rain and kill you, and like even when people swap in resists, it still just that's a
big
lot of
damage.
damage. Like you
That's
just
a lot
chipped
of damage.
everything on their team in 2 turns. Like, good job. And if you have anything fast or with priority or whatever, you can just start picking them off now. Like it's kind of wild, like just how strong that is. It's overheat with spread damage and less drawback off of base 130 special attack. Like it's absolutely nuts with adaptability boost if you do the Terra Steel. So like you're talking like Kyogre level stuff almost.
In regional dex format.
In regional dex format, and it doesn't depend on your HP being high. Like,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Good point. It's So there's a lot there, and I think correct. I think Goldengo's not going away anytime soon.
There are more checks to it, but it will continue to be amazing.
Yep, I agree with that. Cool. There's 2 cores down.
So what I thought was really cool, actually. So first place was Dozo, and that like obviously like took the story. I think that's going to actually propel it a little bit. But
Yeah.
second place was way more interesting to me in that it was hard Trick Room. I mean, minus a Scarf Annihilate, but like it was effectively hard Trick Room. It was everything besides these. It was Indeedee, female, obviously, Armarouge, Torkoal, Kingambit, Hatterene, and Annihilate. Did not expect to see Hatterene after Armarouge existed.
Yeah.
But this is second place at a regional. Absolutely wild. And like the Scarf Annihilate existed only to final Gambit things.
I was gonna say, yeah, the Scarf Annihilate is just a splash. This is still a hard Trick Room. That's fine.
Yeah, you do that so you kill one of the Mons, so that as long as Indeedee, whatever would help them kill Indeedee, you final Gambit that, and then you set up Trick Room, and then you go to town.
Yep.
And yeah, it's super cool to see that actually work out well for someone. I have seen a decent bit of it on the ladder. Unfortunately, I'm having a hard time judging how good Armarouge and DD is, because it's mostly people who are playing closed team sheets. So like,
yeah,
sure,
that's tough.
you do whatever you want to do, but that means literally nothing for a regional, right? So like when it is open, and this person showed us that at least in Series 1 it can function. I think the like Arcanine is becoming massive in Series 2 now. When people realize Intimidate is not bad. It still works. So you have these
Intimidate's back.
Yeah. So you have these Arcanines spamming Snarl again. And that means you have to drop your item for Covert Cloak if you want to not be dropped like that. But this team had King Gambit, so you know, like that. There's your counter for it.
Yeah, Defiant is great. Throw that in front of a.
Yeah, actually,
Arcanine.
they had King Gambit and Defiant Annihilate. So like, if they give you a double Defiant boost, then like, I don't know, maybe you don't click Final Gambit.
This Annihilate didn't even have Rage Fist, which I'm not mad at.
Yeah,
Close combat, Shadow Claw, U-turn, Final Gambit. That's a fine set.
They usually don't run Rage Fist. I guess because they're not as bulky. Like they have max speed and max HP usually. But
oh yeah, sure, for this set, yes. Sorry, I'm thinking of just making the most out of Defiant, right? If you get intimidated and snarled, right, your Rage Fist is gonna do work.
If you get intimidated and snarled, you're already at like, what is that, +3? Yeah,
you're
that's wild.
+3 on top of
you'd be
+4
+4
BP.
and you'd be +4 and -1. Yeah, and yeah, that's wild.
So yes, that's doing work.
Anyway, Trick Room, like standard Psychic Terrain Trick Room, is something to watch out for, in my opinion. And so this team, there's like a larger narrative going around right now. This team had Torkoal on it, and what I've seen like a lot of prominent players say, and like YouTubers too, I think like Moxie even did a whole video on it, was that they think that Torkoal is not as good as people thought it would be. And I see their reasoning. Like at first everybody thought Torkoal was amazing because it's Torkoal, and it did
because Torkoal did amazing last gen, yes.
And on top of that, it powers up photosynthesis, and it's an actual mon that powers up your Paradox Mons, as opposed to Pincurchin, which, you know, it sets up electric terrain. Pincurchin actually has cut a couple of grassroots tournaments, and the way it's used in every single well-performing team is they give it a eject button. So it gets in, it sets the terrain, it powers up your Mons, it makes Amoonguss useless, and then it gets out.
That's fair. That's the way to
maybe
it
gets a sucker punch at the end of the game or something, but like for the most part, it's like, I don't want this thing on the field. I literally want its ability. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So
that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's kind of neat. But yeah, like everybody thought Torkoal would be amazing, and then like now the current logic is that it doesn't actually synergize all that well with the Mons that want it, and that like
why?
Because most of the Proto Mons are actually really fast. and Torkoal
Oh, sure.
needs Trick Room to do damage anyway. Like, so then at that point you're thinking more like, I guess, supportive Torkoal, which it's not as good without Dynamax, because supportive Torkoal, like, yes, it had Helping Hand and all this, and Body Press, but like the real thing that made it a functional Pokemon was Yawn, and Yawn has just been inherently nerfed by the fact that Dynamax is gone. Like, if you got a Yawn off on your opponent as they clicked Max, you almost won the game at that point.
Yeah, it's hard to say. It's hard to say that Yawn got worse because Dynamax is gone. I feel Yawn is the same. It's everything around it, right? Yawn was a good answer to Dynamax.
It's an indirect nerf, right? Like, this thing is not as useful because one of the things it was used for is gone.
Okay, yes, that's a fair point. So, what else did support Torkoal do?
It was
set up Sun. You said
it did body press, which is like, okay, it never did Iron Defense stuff. So body press was literally just a physical option for it.
Sure.
It had Helping Hand, so like that's a thing.
Sure.
And nowadays it has Clear Smog, so like that's an option against Dondozo.
Clear Smog
but
is nice.
I mean, +2 Earthquake or Wave Crash, even in the
There's
sun,
not
it's gonna
a lot.
really hurt. So like, I
your
don't know.
point earlier is smart. It's not gonna live outside of Trick Room very long.
Yeah, it wants to be on exactly this team that got second.
Yeah, true.
Where it hard Trick Room and I want to click Eruption. But yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting. I've seen a lot of Farigiraf on Trick Room teams in Series 2, so that might be something, but I don't know. My prediction is no Torkoal in Series 2, but like, I wouldn't have thought Torkoal in Series 1 either, and it did really well here, so.
Interesting. Yeah, I want to see what people come up with for Sun and Photosynthesis Mons, if anything. We'll see.
All right, what was your favorite Series 1 team?
My favorite Series 1 team, so probably...
It can't be Dozo or Hard Trick Room. We're moving on.
Yes, no, correct, because it's not. Palafin.
Okay,
Palafin,
yeah, same. Awesome.
Pelipper.
All right, huzzah.
Yeah.
All right, so this is like basically what I was alluding to earlier. I think that this is maybe the strongest archetype in Series 1, in my opinion anyway, and it is also one of the most hurt by Paradox Mons.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of water resists. People are starting to bring Gastrodon now, which is really annoying. It's nothing to do with Paradox. It's just people are starting to
it's
adapt to
just a thing
rain.
that's happening because of Dozo and Rain. Yes.
And on top of that, they're bringing Terra Fire Gastrodon, so it's like immune to water from Storm Drain. That makes it resistant to freeze dry as well. So you can't just bring Bundle to deal with that. So like, Gastrodon is a legitimate problem for Palafin stuff, but that bundle in itself, like freeze dry, is super effective against Palafin, and 4 times effective against Pelipper.
Yep.
And both of them want a Terra Grass.
Yep. If they're gonna do something, it's gonna be Terra Grass, and again, freeze dry. You take half of that damage away for Pelipper. Woohoo!
Yeah. Well, I actually have mine calced to live a freeze dry if I Terra Grass. Yeah, but I'm not even sure if that's worth the ball.
I mean, it's not worth the Terra at that point.
If you Terra it and you get to click Tailwind, and that actually can just like kind of swing a game, but
sure, that's probably the best you're gonna get out of that. I don't know.
I mean, Pelipper is very much a support mon anyway. Like, people are like,
like,
I guess you can click Hydro Pump in the rain and cross your fingers for like mediocre damage, but
I mean, honestly, for when I've been playing Pelipper so far in testing, I'm testing a Palafin Series 2 team. Yeah.
Same, as it turns out.
Oh, cool. We should compare notes, and then I'll steal all your cool tech, and then you can get nothing from me. The way I've been using it is Pelipper comes out, Hurricane sometimes, can Tailwind sometimes. That's like the 2 things I'm going to do most of the time. I did get some good Chilling Waters off of it, because I have that for mine, which is nice.
Chilling Water is something I've been exploring with like a really bulky Pelipper recently. Like, literally, I gave up on Modest Nature, like bold Pelipper clicking Chilling Water.
I think that's mine. Whatever, I'll find it later. Yeah. But yeah, I think bulky Pelipper is the way to go. I'm not expecting it to do big damage. I'm expecting it to do some support and some chip.
The other thing that came
Big
up with
chip.
this is with the Paradox Mons. There's a lot of just really, really fast stuff now, like
Mm-hmm.
obscenely fast. Like we're talking, like so with those entering the meta, there's a lot of things that Pelipper can no longer outspeed under Tailwind or not without investing significantly, and it
Yep.
really wants its bulk. And then finally, because Torkoal has come into the meta more, because weather is just more of a thing now, Damp Rock was the item of choice, which was really weird to me, but it made sense once I realized there are only 4 weather setters in the game right now. Like there's literally one for each weather.
Oh, good point. Okay.
I think the Hippo isn't in, right? It's just T-Tar?
Nope. Hippo is in. There are 2.
Okay, so there are 2 sand setters, but there's only one that matters. So like,
I've seen it once.
so people and they weren't like a huge part of the meta outside of gimmicks, so it made sense to have Damp Rock and just get those extra turns of rain. But now that weather is becoming more prominent, like you probably just want a regular item on your Pelipper because it'll get reset a lot of the time anyway. So you might as well like
Yeah,
get some other benefit out of it.
I've been playing with using my Pelipper smartly, trying to board position right.
Yeah.
And
But that
then
does make it
also-
inherently weaker, right? Like in
Yes.
Series 1, I could swap my Pelipper in once, sack it. Honestly, I was like, please kill this thing. I don't want it. And then it set up rain for 8 turns, and I don't have to care. Like I have these incredibly powerful jet punches and wave crashes and
Yeah.
hurricanes on the rest of my team and like steel resists to fire for like the rest of the game effectively. And that is no longer the case. Like you have to like you said, play smart, pivot it in and out. Yeah, so like either you invest your Pelipper to have like 100, I think you need 103 speed to outspeed bundle, or at least Flutter Mane
in Tailwind.
in Tailwind, yeah, which
Yeah.
is not insignificant because Pelipper is pretty slow.
Yeah, that's true. And that's a lot of investment. That's what I guess a fifth of your investment, right? True. But to your point, the pivot in Pelipper, it's a fun phrase, does lend itself to having like a berry, right, for sustain or
Berry, safety goggles, you can go full
Yep.
offensive and then focus sash it. Like I don't
Sure.
care about your 4 times effective freeze drive because anything was going to kill me anyway. So like whatever. Like,
you got options.
and then there's the other question of wide guard. Like, so I don't think people took wide guard as seriously pre San Diego until GSOC won with wide guard Garg.
Sure.
But the thing that I don't like about wide guard, and like this is just kind of part of Pokemon in general, is that like you have to, it's a button where if you don't read your opponent, you get nothing.
Yeah.
And like there's a lot of moves that are like counter to other moves, but you still get something out of it. Like fake out is always good. You always deny your opponent an action, and
Yep.
you can do all kinds of things with it. And if your opponent knows you have wide guard,
They're
like,
not gonna necessarily
yeah.
hit a spread move.
like they know it's open team sheet. It's not like you get the
Yep.
surprise off. And frankly, with like some of these mons like Pelipper, like Garg, they're always gonna know even if it wasn't open team sheet, to be honest. So I'm starting to think like, do you need wide guard on Pelipper? Like
I've not been using it.
I have clicked it like a couple times, but half the time is when my opponent denies me open team sheets. So I was like, fine, then then you don't know that I have this button.
That's
but,
a good point.
Like but that's not real. That's not like how a tournament functions. It made a lot more sense for Garg in my opinion because like, okay, fine, they know you have wide guard, but the only button that Goldengo can click to kill you is make it rain. So
Right.
So you click it anyway, and even if they read you, then whatever, you take half damage from Shadow Ball because of Purifying Salt. But Pelipper's already taking half from Make It Rain, so you're kind of only guarding your friends from spread moves, and then like what spread moves are there? It's that and Eruption. So I don't know. There's a lot of interesting questions about Rain. I think we've dug into this one way more now because you and I actually play it.
Yes.
But yeah, TLDR of
We
all
have
this
things
is
to say.
I think it's going to do well in Series 2, but I think it has a lot more problems to deal with now. And it's
I think it's going to do well enough in Series 2. I think it really depends on what you bring to support it, right? So
And-
what other Formon do you have that's going
Yeah.
to help deal with its threats?
my suspicion is that like I don't know about you, I am personally like the Rain teams I'm playing right now are like incorporating new stuff into the old core. Like Iron Hands is basically like a new version of King Gambit. It's
Yes.
better stats, worse ability, whatever. I'm using it instead, and having that fake out pressure is nice.
Have you? I'll send you my paste. I want to know what you think about it because I don't think you've seen it yet.
I'd love to see it. But I think that whoever does well with Rain in Orlando is going to come up with like a really new core for it. Like
They're gonna do something cool and set the pace.
It'll have Palafin and Pelipper, and then like probably entirely different 4 out of 6 mons otherwise.
Yeah, I can see that. So there's that. What else is there? What about just plain? I hate the genericness of just good stuffs.
So depends what you mean by good stuffs. I think that so like there was that like really common Garchomp, Hydreigon, Murkrow, Goldango core, but I think that even fell off in Series 1.
Did fall off.
So I don't think we'll see that in Series 2, and I think Garchomp is mostly dead to the world at this point.
I said the words good stuff, and then I scanned the top 16, top 32 of this tournament. I'm like, well, hold on. What I was thinking of is not there. There's a couple of Garchomps. There's 2 in the top 16. One in 18th, right? There's like just a couple Hydreigons. Like, yeah, it fell off. Tauros is back. Hello again.
I personally, so I think that's a really interesting thing about Series 2 as well, is that Arcanine came back, and the Tauroses are kind of like Tauros. We all saw with GSOC and a couple other players at more than a couple other players at San Diego, that Water Tauros in particular with Baxcalibur is amazing. But now they're falling off again, and I think it's because a lot of the Paradox Mons really make them sad. Freeze Dry again, like Bundle kills both of them. Freeze Dry on the water one, Hydro Pump on the fire one. If either of them go grass, then Freeze Dry also kills them. And then Flutter Mane has Fairy for the fighting on the water one at least, and it's neutral into the fire one, but the fire one is so like they're both really specially defensively weak. So Flutter Mane still nukes them really fast. Whereas Arcanine's only real fear is the Hydro Pump on Bundle.
True.
So like
do you think Arcanine is gonna kind of
I think Arcanine
step in
is
as
already
the intimidator?
back. I think it's gonna be the intimidator of choice. Like everybody thought it was gonna be when the game launched, and it's taken this long.
There are 2 in Liverpool.
Yeah, even just in Series 1. And if you take a look at like some of the grassroots tournaments, like a ton of teams are running Arcanine.
3 in top 32, but
click the Series 2 Week 1 Part 3 tab.
Oh my gosh. Series 2, Week 1, Part 3 tab. What is...
They're all playing the same 5 or 6 mons.
Wait.
It's actually wild. Yeah.
Wait. No. The top...
In fact, I'd
37?
almost say that the top
37.
The top 39 are identical. Or maybe I'm not counting the headers. You're right. 37 are identical.
Yeah.
And then if you go down to 64, it's identical minus 1 mon. And then down to 69 is still identical minus 1 mon. Like it's 2 mons. It's actually wild. Like there is a Series 2 like good stuff's core that is kind of emerged. It's so like the top one is Amoonguss, Iron Hands, Iron Bundle, Goldango, Arcanine, and Garganacl.
Good stuff.
And people swap them in and out and whatever. I've tried playing with this team. It's not easy to play, honestly. I think people are just kind of like copycatting each other at this point.
Sure. What is this stats from? What is this from?
If you look at the tournament column, it tells you like which tour they played them in, and then like it'll tell you how many people were in each given tournament.
I understand.
It's all grassroots, which is all we have for Series 2.
I did not understand what I was reading. Okay, this is really cool, actually. Dang it.
Yeah, I mean, use this if you want like inspiration. I'm saying this to everybody. Like if you we can even like link Evan's spreadsheet. I'm sure everybody.
If you don't have it, I'll put it down below.
If you have not seen Evan's PokePastes spreadsheet, VGC Pace, like it's incredibly helpful. He's on top of his game. Like tournament happens and he has everything in there.
This is
very quickly.
He's doing the Lord's work. This is baffling to me. Like the fact that this comes out.
What makes me sad is that it's still like all he has access to. It's not his fault. Is like the open sheets where we don't get any EVs.
Sure.
Or nature. So it's kind of hard to tell. I'm sure a lot of these people have put a lot of thought into their spreads. But yeah, it's cool to see. You think we have time for one more archetype before we wrap this up?
We have all the time in the world, except that's not true.
Not true.
Yes. One more archetype. What do you want to do?
Okay, we've been looking down Liverpool. Do you want to go down San Diego?
Just pick a favorite looking one from San Diego.
Okay. So we've already talked about Dondozo. We've already talked about Rain.
I got.
We kind of talked about G-Sock's core as well. What do you got?
So we haven't said Meowscarada. We have not said the word Meowscarada yet.
I think Meowscarada has been buried because it's not the fastest thing on God's green earth anymore besides
That's true.
Dragapult.
That's a good point.
But I think it's also better than people are giving it credit for.
How do you think it's going to perform? What do you think?
I think there will be only a couple uncut, but
You think?
like I know JoeUX9 has cut multiple Series 2 tours with Meowscarada. That Toxic Spikes tech is really cool to deal with Dozo and Garg.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, Garg can Terra Poison, but you have to be Terra Poison when you hit the field to avoid the spikes.
Yeah, just turn into Terra
Doesn't heal you from being poisoned, correct? Yeah.
Correct.
So that's like I think that's really cool tech. I think just having crit is amazing. But it does hard lose to Fluttermane and to Bundle.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true.
It's slower and it takes super effective damage and it's very frail itself. So like that's a little rough, but I mean you obviously like have other teammates, right? And
Yeah. I'm curious to see how it does. I think I agree with you because like it kind of dropped off a little bit. If you look at the last couple of tournaments, it's sprinkled in, and I think it will continue to be sprinkled in until we all agree that it's not good. I don't think
there'll ever come a point where it's not at least somewhat good. Like it'll have a role on a lot of teams.
That's why I think it'll continue to be sprinkled in. Yes.
We have like a good collection of grass types now that you get to choose from. Like Meowscarada, Amoonguss, Breloom, and Brute Bonnet.
I've not seen Breloom.
It's the least used of those four by far. It's the worst of those four, also by far. Especially once Brute Bonnet became a thing.
Yeah, sorry, Mike.
Yeah, but it's still useful. It still does its thing. It has Mach Punch, which like fighting coverage is actually quite good now because it makes Bundle really sad. Technician Mach Punch.
Yeah,
but I mean, you have all these grass types, and they all range from like offensive to utility.
Yeah,
and like I think Meowscarada and Amoonguss are like on the absolute far ends of that spectrum. Like Meowscarada is frail and fast and powerful. Amoonguss is slow and bulky and utility and power.
Yeah,
and then
it clearly goes
and then Bonnet and Breloom are somewhere in the middle. Like Breloom's the frail, strong one with Spore, and Bonnet is the bulky, strong one with Spore.
Yes, correct. It's a very easy scale there if you look at it that way.
Grass types are a spectrum.
That's very true. Is that it?
We can call it there.
Okay.
There's too many things that happen in Series 1 to count. Honestly, like there's all kinds of cool stuff. I personally think that like everything is just going to have to be adapted just a little bit. Even if you don't even necessarily have to bring Paradox Mons, but you 100% have to adapt to them. They exist now, and you cannot ignore them despite them not having a real ability. Like
they're going to affect not a real ability. That's true. They're going to affect the game.
Yeah, their stats are too good. I think like I've seen King Gambits, for example. They used to run Terra Flying all the time because it gave you like it let you resist, it'd be immune to ground and resist flying and fighting, right? Which are your two big weaknesses. Now they're running Fairy because if you go flying, then Iron Hands can wild charge you.
Yeah. Yeah, good point.
And Wild Hands. Iron Hands is like it's kind of King Gambit's replacement at this point. Like it has to compete with it. So like it has Defiant, and that's its thing over it. It has worse stats, but Defiant.
Can we have like a protosynthesis Hitmonchan? It's called Wild Hands. Yeah, I that's a good point. There'll be some. It'll be interesting to see. Again, we can make predictions right now. We've seen some early stuff, but to see where the meta goes and how everything adjusts with the Paradox Mon will be fun and interesting. But no matter what, you have to be prepared for them. Listen to last week's episode if you haven't to get a very, very quick overview of all of the Paradox Mon and what they do. Just what we think they're going to do at a very basic surface level. But yeah, they're a thing. They're coming. And so is Orlando.
Calling it there?
I think so.
All right.
Oh, wait. I do have one quick thing, right? So we had a question in the Discord, which I think is very good. I don't know if it's worth making a whole episode out of, but we kind of touched on it today. And I want to know your like elevator pitch for how you kind of keep up with and adapt to a quick changing meta.
I don't, and I cry. I don't, no,
bad advice.
Honestly, no, it's hard. I think that that BGC pastes thing we were talking about, actually, yeah, really relevant. I think you should take a look at that because that's what comes out of it. I am actually, I guess I can pitch it now because I'm pretty close to being done with it. At least like
I'm excited.
I'm gonna start beta testing a little thing that I've been making in my spare time as a software engineer. So I've built an app that basically scrapes replay data from Showdown, gets the data, gets the teams and the ELO out of it, and then uploads it to my backend that my app will then look at. So it's an app that will let you look at replays and filter it by the Pokemon and the ELO and the format. And you can just watch them as you please. I'm going to be asking for testers soon, and then assuming that Google and Nintendo don't just come together to smack me down, it'll be on the actual store. To start on Android because that's what I do, but I have enough experience with iOS that I think I can put a version of that up too. So
cool.
I'm hoping that'll help. My main point for all of this is that if you want to like keep up with the format and there's no like really explicit like these are the good pastes like we had back in Series 12, then you kind of just do have to keep your ear to the ground and like look for what other people are doing at the higher level. Like if you were using my app, you'd filter it to 1700 plus and see like what is there. Peakalytics is also really good. It's bad in Series 2. So the problem with Peakalytics, again, it's not the developer of Peakalytics' fault. It's that they can only look at the last month's Showdown stats, which fine if the format is 6 months old, not fine if the format is less than a month old and therefore has 0 stats. So there is no Series 2 on Peakalytics. But once there is, then that's incredibly helpful too, because you can actually see EV spreads that people are using, which is massive. Yeah.
Very true. Is that something we can put on a website?
Yeah.
Maybe eventually.
Yeah. So my backend is just basic Firebase. So you could absolutely make a web client.
Firebase.
Well,
I'm sure
it's for people like me who are not backend developers.
Gotcha.
So you could easily make a web client for it. So we could talk and maybe make a website for it as well.
We'll figure something out. Yeah. We have a lot of fun projects in the pipeline.
We weirdly have a lot of software developers in our little group. So yeah,
that's very true. Anywho, so yeah, I think that's very true. I think the end all be all there is watch the stats that come out of tournaments. I mean, play and get high on the ladder on Showdown, which is
easier said than done, right?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
If you are like doing well enough to go high on the ladder, then yes, like steal people's teams. Just be blatant about it. Like, especially with Open Sheet, take it. You'll have to come up with your own EV spreads, but you can play around with it. If they got up to leaderboard with it, it can't be bad. It might not be perfect, but I mean, you can take that and run with it.
Yeah. So there's that. That was Ninja Gingy on the Discord, which is a fun name to say. Hopefully I said it right, but thank you. That was a good, fantastic question. Keep them coming. So on that note, Discord link down below. Again, Practice Corner going to be happening the evening. I think so far the trend is every Thursday, by which I mean we've done it once and we're going to do it again tomorrow. Tomorrow being today when you're listening to this, because you all listen to it the day it comes out because you love us. And also, if you love us a lot, we have a Patreon for $1, just to show some support for the podcast. You get your name in the credits. And we'll eventually flesh that out to more things too when we
might pay for the server cost of this app too.
Yeah, I mean we have a couple of things that are we're paying for out of pocket for the podcast, which is super fun. That we're doing this just for a fun hobby thing for the community, right? But if you want to support those things, we're not opposed to having more patrons. That's down below as well. That's it. I'm gonna do. I don't have it. I don't have it up. Oh no. I started the episode being like, we should be prepared and have.
Can I try? I don't have it on top of me. Yeah, RobKTA and Game Chops, thank you for the use of our theme song. That's it, right? We got it.
Oh yeah, I have more that I normally.
You have a whole thing? Okay, go for it.
No, I mean, well, we'll take that. Yes. So thank you, RobKTA, for the use of our theme song, Goldenrod Game Corner off the Ultraball album.
Oh, okay. So the specific song. Got it.
Yeah, I just go ahead and throw it all out there. Topic for next week. So next week is the last episode before Orlando. I think the episode you can probably expect is just the three of us in this studio screaming in panic for for whatever we're gonna do.
You've
for
ever seen
Orlando.
that episode of SpongeBob where there's just a bunch of him inside his own brain and everything's on fire? Like
yeah. Fine dining and breathing.
I know neither.
Fine Pokemon and breathing. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We're really good at this being prepared thing. Anyway, I've been Harrison. You can find me on Twitter at Ixen, Row_Ixen. You can find me on Twitch there sometimes, not recently. I've become the negligent streamer on the podcast now. Sheldon has been streaming pretty recently. All his stuff is down below as well. Rowan, where can they find you?
Yeah, Rowan W. Hall on Twitter, Rowan Hall on YouTube. I put up a team report for my San Diego team that didn't do well at San Diego, but did do well in grassroots. So, if you like it, check it out. I'm going to do one video on Series 1 before it dies. You've
got a short timeline for that, friend.
Yeah. That's within this week is the point. It'll be up.
Okay.
I've got it mostly there. It needs to be edited. Moving on, it'll be Series 2 content.
Yeah, looking forward to that. Speaking of fun new content, I'm gonna try and see if we can. So Sheldon put out a short on the channel. If you haven't seen that yet, go find the shorts on our YouTube channel. There's 2 of them. It's very funny, kind of. It's worth looking at because it's just Sheldon in pain. But I'm gonna see if we can.
It's worth watching, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, right. But I want to try and put more shorts out, see if I can't cut some cool things from the podcast, and then as we start doing more content, or at least me streaming your videos, etc., we'll see if we can't kind of throw some new stuff on the podcast on the channel for shorts and other fun stuff too. We'll see. So look forward to that. If you have any ideas, let us know, please. What did you want to see from us? Anyway, we've been the Game Corner. You can find us on Twitter at Game Corner VGC. You can find the Discord down below, Patreon down below, all of our information down below. There should be just links you can click in the show notes. I will also put VGC paste down below. If I don't, then yell at me in the comments to make sure that I put it there because I said I would. I think that's it. Until next time, press start, game on, and continue to panic about Orlando. Bye! Yeah, I'm so scared. I have nothing. I have no plans.
Let me send you what my last paste.